With today's scripture, we have a reading from Isaiah and then following a reading from Luke. The first reading is Isaiah 11. A shoot will come up from the stump of Jesse. From his roots a branch will bear fruit. The Spirit of the Lord will rest on him, the Spirit of wisdom and of understanding, the Spirit of counsel and might, the Spirit of the knowledge and the fear of the Lord, and he will delight in the fear of the Lord. He will not be judged by what he sees with his eyes or decide by what he hears with his ears, but with righteousness he will judge the needy. With justice he will give decisions for the poor on earth. He will strike the earth with the rod of his mouth. With the breath of his lips he will slay the wicked. Righteousness will be his belt, and faithfulness the sash around his waist. The wolf will live with the lamb. The leopard will lie down with the goat. The calf and the lion and the yearling together. And a little child will lead them. The cow will feed with the bear. Their young will lie down together, and the lion will eat straw like the ox. The infant will play near the cobra's den, and the young child will put its hands into the viper's nest. They will neither harm nor destroy on all my holy mountain, for the earth will be filled with the knowledge of the Lord as the waters cover the sea. The second reading from Luke 22. A dispute also arose among them as to which one of them was considered the greatest. Jesus said to them, "The kings of the Gentiles lord it over them, and those who exercise authority over them call themselves benefactors. But you are not like that. Instead, the greatest among you shall be like the youngest, and the one who rules like the one who serves. For who is greater, the one who is at the table or the one who serves? Is it not the one who is at the table? But I am among you as the one who serves. You are those who have stood by me in my trials, and I confer on you a kingdom, just as my Father conferred one on me, so that you may eat and drink at my table in my kingdom, and sit on thrones, judging the 12 tribes of Israel." Hear what the Spirit is saying to the church. Thanks be to God.
What a game. No. Did you see that IU game? Did you see that IU game? Was that something? Well, I tell you what, it got me pretty fired up and reminiscing about my own experience of winning a football championship. It was back in '92, Pacific Christian College, intramural flag football against the mighty Biola University. I mean, it's pretty much the same thing as IU in Miami, right? Pretty much the same thing. Well, it seems fitting, given the time of season we're in between the playoffs and the Super Bowl and IU just winning, and football is in the air, yeah? So I wanted to share with you a tale of two teams, the Bears and the Colts. Now, you're probably jumping back to 2007 and Super Bowl 41, where Peyton Manning led the Colts to a Super Bowl win. But I'm actually talking about the Bears and the Colts of Flagstaff, Arizona, 13 and under youth league flag football, which again is pretty much the same. My daughter, she had played basketball. She wanted to try her hand at flag football, and there just happened to be a newer league in town. We're like, okay, we'll go, and we got to pick what team we wanted to be. So obviously, we're going to be the Colts, right? But there was this other team who had been dominating the league for several seasons, the Bears. And our first season with them, or in that league, we came in second to the Bears. But we were the only team that gave them a run for their money. We were the only team that could really compete with them. So we did put them on notice. Our second season, we beat them. Our third season, we went undefeated, beating them again. Our fourth season, we came in second. But they had moved on that fourth season, either because they were just so demoralized by us beating them, or maybe they aged out. I prefer to go with the former explanation. But let me tell you something about youth sports, because I've had a fair amount both playing and coaching. The Bears played a very typical style of play. That pretty much dominates youth sports. You basically take your best athletes, your 2 or 3 best athletes, and you just run with them. And everyone else on the team is basically decoration. I didn't want to coach that way. I was like, no, the way we're going to beat these guys is that everyone on our team is going to be a weapon. Everyone's going to be an asset. Everyone matters. You see, sadly, youth sports very much reflect the world in many ways. Where the bigger and stronger and faster, well, they're more valuable and matter more. And everyone else is just the leftovers, easily looked over. We weren't going to play that way. So this brings me to where I got to talk to you about Bo. All 4 seasons, Bo was our quarterback. Choosing Bo to be our quarterback, sorry, I do not have a picture of him, was the best decision I've ever made as a coach. However, Bo was reluctant to play quarterback. I mean, who's reluctant to play quarterback? Everyone wants to play quarterback. Bo was a little hesitant. He was a pitcher in Little League, so he had a good arm, decent arm. Wasn't the best arm in the league. He wasn't the quickest guy in the league. But Bo had what you want every quarterback to have. He had it up here, and he had it in here. You see, there was only one thing I really needed to convince Bo of. And that was everyone on our team is an asset. Everyone on our team is a weapon. So Bo, when you go back to pass, whoever's most open is who you throw it to. Now this leads me to I need to tell you about Toby. Toby came to us our 3rd season. Let's just say Toby was not an athlete. But he was spending the summer in Flagstaff with his dad and stepmom, and his stepmom, who was a very caring woman, was just tired of watching Toby just playing video games all day long. Toby needed some friends. Toby needed some fresh air. Toby needed some activity. So she signed him up for flag football. And what team did he end up on? Sweet kid, but I got to tell you, Toby ran like he had rocks in his shoes. It looked painful to watch Toby run. And Toby was scared to death of the ball. You cannot be scared of the ball. In any sport that requires the ball, you cannot be scared of the ball. So we had a little bit of work to do. But let me go back to Bo for a second. One of the things I would do, I would open practice and I would end practice running a lap around the big park field we were in. And kids, they like to race each other. They're done, and I'd be like, where's Toby? Way back there. This became the pattern. So Bo, because he understood the heart and soul and spirit of our team, Bo would circle back. And Bo would jog in with Toby. And we always played catch, kind of open practice. We'd always play catch. And Bo would always play catch with Toby, because we needed Toby to gain the confidence and the skills that when that ball came to him, and it would come to him, because that's the way we play, because everybody matters, he needed to be able to catch it. And I got to tell you, there are a few things as satisfying for a coach than when a kid like Toby catches a touchdown pass, which he did. And he just lit up, and it was really the coolest thing. Now, if you will indulge me with just one more flag football story that doesn't have a whole lot to do with my message, but I got to tell you because so my daughter was on a team. This was a co-ed league, but there were very, very few girls in the league. But it was co-ed, and we had a couple of girls on our team. Most teams didn't have girls. And Sophia was our backup quarterback. Our third season, we were up on this team pretty well, and Bo really wanted to be a receiver. His heart was to be a receiver, even though I made him play quarterback. So we were up, and he's like, Coach, can I play? Can I be a receiver? Sure, Bo, you can be a receiver. So, you're up. 2 plays. First one was just a short screen pass. We gained a few yards, so Sophia threw it to one of the other girls on the team. I think the other team was thinking, oh, this is how they're going to play. One girl against another girl, and Remember, everyone on my team is a weapon. Second play. Sophia hikes it, or it's hiked to Sophia. She turns this way. We had 2 receivers over here. One went, one stayed. Sophia pumped, froze the defense. Bo is streaking up the far sideline. You know where this story's going. Sophia turned and launched it. Friends, I got to tell you, there has never been a more perfect pass. It could not be a more perfect pass. This ball traveled 40 yards downfield. Bo caught it perfectly in stride, trot on into the end zone. This was the last game of the day, so there was a lot of extra people hanging around watching. The crowd just erupted. And we put a knife in the opposition's heart at that stage of the game and put our league on notice that we were the team to beat, which they should have already known because we had won last year. But why am I bringing all this up to you, you're wondering? Well, because I think that's very reflective of the world we live in. 2 different styles, 2 different principles and paradigms that are at play. On one side, you got the playbook of the world. And then on the other, you got the playbook of the kingdom. Coach Jesus' playbook, we might call it. But they are very, very different. One is based on dominion, stewardship, caretaking, cultivating. One is based on domination. One is built on humility. The other is built on hubris. The playbook of the world kind of runs on principles like might makes right, the ends justify the means, maintain the status quo by all means necessary, particularly if you're at the top. And inequality is simply a given. There are winners and losers, haves and have-nots, and that's just the way it is. It's a zero-sum game. It's all about consolidating and centralizing power at the top. And the top is where you want to be. That's how it works. But that's not the way God created the world. That's not the way God designed the world. In this playbook, everyone is welcome, and everyone belongs. Everyone has value, worth, and significance. Everyone is to be cared for. But friends, I got to tell you something. Learning this playbook takes a lot of proactive, intentional unlearning, relearning. Because friends, this is baked into us. Simply by living in the world that we live in, we get this. We know this. This is our native language right here. We are familiar with it. And our impulse and our instinct is to always gravitate this way, because it's what we know. We always go to what we know and what we're familiar with. 2 playbooks. Now, you might be thinking that I'm oversimplifying this whole thing. Well, I like to think I'm in good company. Think about it. The Bible opens up with 2 trees. Choose one. There's just 2. Make a good choice. We didn't, but tree of life, tree of knowledge of good and evil. When Moses was getting ready to take the nation of Israel into the promised land, two choices: choose life or choose death. And it's all trust God and obey him or don't. Jesus would say it this way: enter through the narrow gate, for wide is the gate and broad is the road that leads to destruction, and many enter through it. But small is the gate and narrow the road that leads to life, and only a few find it. Paul would put it this way: conform or be transformed. Focus on things above, or earthly things. So going with two playbooks, I think, is kind of fitting. I think it works. But again, the challenge is we know this one. And we like this one, but we don't know it. It's not our embodied experience. And, it's so hard to learn it. But friends, if you've been tracking with us in this book, The Very Good Gospel, Lisa Sharon Harper, she touches on a lot of subjects. We'll get to racism next week, and family, and sexism, which was really this week. All of it comes down to one thing, though. It's all about power, and primarily how power is used. And our fundamental power, our most basic and initial power, is the power to choose. Simply to choose. As Tom read earlier, in typical prophet, poetic, picturesque way of saying something, Isaiah put it this way: the wolf will live with the lamb, the leopard will lie down with the goat, the calf, lion, and yearling together, the cow will feed with the bear, the lion will eat straw like an ox, the infant will play near the cobra's den. What? That is not the world we live in, is it? That is predator and prey. And we nod our heads going, that looks like a fantasy. But friends, this is the poetic and picturesque way the prophets described what would happen when Messiah came. What would happen when we learn the Messiah's ways and the Messiah's playbook? This would be natural. Predator and prey aren't fighting each other and devouring each other. Recently, Stephen Miller, Deputy Chief of Staff and National Security Advisor of the White House, said, "We live in a world, in the real world, that is governed by strength, that is governed by force, that is governed by power." Well, he's right. If this is the only playbook we've got. But thanks be to God, we're not stuck with that playbook. We got another option. Thing is, are we going to learn it? Jesus said to his disciples, just to set this up, this was near the end of Jesus' ministry. This is like in his final week. And these yahoos who'd been with him for 3 years were bickering over which one of them is the greatest. The kind of argument people who are well-versed in this would be having. Jesus said to them, "The kings of the Gentiles lord it over them, and those who exercise authority over them call themselves benefactors." Jesus acknowledging, yes, there is a way that the world operates. And those at the top, they try to convince you it is good for you. It is good that I'm above you, that I dominate you. It really is in your best interest. Benefactors. But you are not to be like that, Jesus says. Instead, the greatest among you should be like the youngest, the one who rules like the one who serves. Man, could there be more vastly different playbooks and value systems and principles and paradigms on which we could build on? Dallas Willard said this: "The greatest issue facing the world today with all its heartbreaking needs, is whether those who are identified as Christians will become disciples, students, apprentices, practitioners of Jesus Christ, steadily learning from him how to live the life of the kingdom of the heavens into every corner of human existence. Will the world get to see this playbook on display through those who call themselves Christians, through the church? That's the power of the choice we have. But again, we know this far better. Bo had to learn to trust the system and trust his teammates. Toby had to learn to trust himself and grow in some confidence in his abilities. But friends, anyone who follows sports knows this. Games are won or lost at practice. And friends, what we're doing right here when we gather every Sunday, or when we gather in table groups, or anytime we're gathered together, friends, that's practice. That's practice. Game time is when we leave here. Our everyday lives, our everyday decisions, our everyday interactions, that's the test. That's the game. G.K. Chesterton said this: "The Christian ideal has not been tried and found wanting. It has been found difficult and left untried." This is really hard. Jesus' way is really, really, really hard. But it's also really, really good. There's a temptation I think we often have. There's this sentiment. Let's change the world. Friends, I'm pretty confident God does not call us to change the world. God calls us to be the church. God calls us to be faithful to who he's made us to be. When we do, it appears, he will then use that somehow to change the world. But the outcome, the results, those are up to God. The choice for us, are we going to become what we were meant to be, or are we just going to settle for the dog-eat-dog world that we live in that way, just because it's familiar? So this week's chapter in the book is, one of the chapters is Shalom and Gender. So let me speak to the ladies for just a moment. Patriarchy exists because it can. If this is all we know, patriarchy, misogyny, it will flourish. It flourishes in a system like this. But we are called to be this. Gentlemen, let me speak to you for a second. There's no hiding the fact that biologically, anatomically, physiologically speaking, we are bigger and stronger. But we misinterpret that if we think that means, oh, we then get to dominate because we're just bigger and stronger. Go back to that picture that Isaiah painted for us. Assuming or jumping to the conclusion that bigger and stronger just is a license for domination is simply the wrong interpretation. Men, I cannot say this clearly enough. We are not superior. We are, however, pivotal. Just as Bo was pivotal, our team was going to rise or fall with Bo's decision making. That was just the position he was in because he had the ball the most often. Being bigger and stronger is not licensed to dominate, But it is, going back to our initial call of dominion, it is to care and protect and cultivate and steward. One more quick illustration about the difference between these two things. There's an interesting theory these days in the world of gaming, and maybe I think mathematics as well. In game theory, there's the infinite game and there's the finite game. The infinite game is the finite game, the finite game looks very much like this. It's about winning and losing and being on top. And the infinite game is just about enjoying playing, which sounds a whole lot like why God created existence for us to begin with, and life, the life he has for us. Just enjoy playing. Not beating up on one another. To sort of try to land this plane, it is important for us to remember as Christians that we follow a Jewish rabbi named Jesus who was crucified. But he rose from the dead, and he is also God incarnate and the true King of the world. With that in mind, Paul says this: "For the message of the cross is foolishness to those who are perishing." People who are entrenched in this looking at that and go, nope, that doesn't work. But to those who are being saved, it is the power of God. God chose the weak things of the world to shame the strong. God chose the lowly things of the world and the despised things and the things that are not to nullify the things that are, so that no one may boast before him. Paul goes on to say in a different letter to the Corinthians, "But God said to me, my grace is sufficient for you. My power is made perfect in weakness. Therefore, I will boast all the more gladly about my weaknesses, that Christ's power may rest in me. For when I am weak, then I am strong." Friends, which playbook are you going to choose from? And to be honest, in every relationship we have, in every interaction we have, in every situation we find ourselves, we got a choice to make. And we do make it. By default or by intentional decision, we make it. Because you're wondering, you want to know what happened to Bo. The reluctant quarterback went on to be the starting quarterback on the high school team. I'd like to think that his experience with us as a Colts taught him something about leadership that smacked a little bit more of this than this. And in our final season, I wanted to honor Bo. Bo's favorite team was the Eagles. I don't know why. But his favorite team was the Eagles. So we changed. We became the Eagles. Because I just wanted to say thank you to Bo for trusting me. And friends, I think God wants to honor us when we trust him. Will we trust him? Now please take a deep breath. Our soul training exercise for this week is simply this: listen to stories of people different than yourself. Particularly people who maybe have less power than you. Also, as you listen, and be that if you're listening by watching a movie or reading a book or a podcast or in conversation, I definitely recommend conversation. Men, ask the women in your lives, your moms, your sisters, your daughters, whoever, what it's like for them being a woman in a world that looks like this. It might open your eyes to things we easily take for granted. But as you're listening, listen to what's going on inside of you as well. Do you find yourself defensive? Dismissive? Or maybe God is cultivating some empathy. which is really the fuel that this runs on. Let us pray. Lord Jesus, on one level, you make things simple. Just one choice, two things. We admit that out of fear, out of warped thinking, we often make the wrong choice, the untrusting choice, and we can see all around us the damage it has done. Help us to trust you. Help us to learn your ways, no matter how hard or long it takes.